Hi everyone, Melissa here. I'm back with another video, and this week I have an awesome success story. This is all about persisting regardless of your circumstances, sticking to your new assumption, your new story, and getting something, experiencing your manifestation against all odds, or something that just seems so impossible. So if you are feeling like you're stuck, or feeling like you're manifesting against all odds, or manifesting something that is just, you just can't see how it could possibly happen, I think this video will really help you. And before I get into it, just a reminder, I am available for one-on-one coaching. You can find the link for that in the description of this video. Okay, so let me just jump right into the success story from this client, and then we'll talk about how she did what she did. Okay. It says, excuse my English if it's not my mother tongue. I wanted to let you know my latest success story. It literally happened yesterday in the craziest way. This is about the whole university thing that I was manifesting with Melissa's help during our sessions. I don't know if you remember the whole context, but I was manifesting getting enrolled back in my university with the classes I wanted. It was rough for a long time. My dad was always asking how it was going and making it hard to stay in the end state. My parents were fighting me a lot on the situation and forcing me to argue with people from my university, and this went on for months. So if I remember correctly, what happened was she didn't get the grade she needed to be able to move forward in the next the next round of classes that she needed at her school. And so she was trying to manifest that she could still take the classes anyway, and she was constantly met with resistance from the people at the university. And then her parents were like, what's going on? Why aren't you enrolled? And it was a real battle from every angle. And then she says, however, at some point I stopped everything, the manifesting, the affirming, the mental diet, everything, because I could not mentally handle the situation and the mental diet. It was too hard for me, but I would self-soothe saying that everything was going to work out for me. A couple weeks after, I found out that I could apply to 2 universities and I could get enrolled with the classes I wanted. And those 2 universities are in the city I live, 5 minutes away from my old university. I applied to those 2, but I preferred one out of the 2. I applied to the one I preferred first. However, it took weeks for them to give any information about my application. So I ended up applying also to the other university in the meantime. During that time, I was waiting to get an answer of the university I wanted, and I booked a visit to the campus. I affirmed that the people for this university would do everything to get me enrolled, and guess what happened? I did the visit with the sweetest lady, and that kept asking me questions about my applications. She ended telling me to send her my application all again, and that she was going to help me see the chief of admissions so my process could go faster. The same day, she made me go into a meeting with the chief of admissions that interviewed me and told me he was going to help me out. They told me that it was going to take a couple of weeks, but that it was looking good for me. So during the last couple of weeks, I was waiting for both applications, and every time I would email to ask for updates, both universities told me to wait, which at some point was driving me insane and made me lose hope. But I started affirming again, but just when I would feel down. I would say that everything is going to work out for me and that I would get into the university I wanted. So 2 to 3 weeks go by and I'm still affirming from time to time, but with no updates. Yesterday, I woke up to an email saying I didn't get into one of the universities, but somehow I didn't freak out and I just started affirming that it is fine because I got accepted to the one I preferred. After affirming, my father called me to tell me that I should go see the nice lady at the university that I wanted, which hadn't answered me yet. So I go to see her and she tells me that it's crazy that I passed by to see her because she just had a meeting with the admission office to talk about me. I told her I wanted updates. She told me to wait a bit and she was going to see the chief of admissions. So she also told me that he liked my file, so it was just a question of time. And she promised me that she was doing everything she can to help me, just like I affirmed. An hour goes by and I received a call from the chief of admissions telling me to pass by the office. So I go, and guess what? I got accepted and they enrolled me right away. It was a crazy day, but now that I look back, I clearly manifested the whole thing. It was the university I preferred. but I noticed that everything started to happen fast once I let go of the pressure of getting in. I was affirming from the place of, if it happens, it's good. If it doesn't, it is fine. And all along this whole period of waiting, I had movement in the weirdest way. I received a text message from the specific person I manifested, also with your help, congratulating me on my acceptance in the university I preferred, even though I never said that I got accepted and never gave him updates regarding this. And this was a couple of weeks ago. P.S. I don't know if you remember me telling you the whole problem I had with the transcript. I ended up getting a paper, but that's not the official paper, but I affirmed that the universities were going to let it slide and not make me struggle with paperwork. Not one university has made a problem out of it, and everything worked smoothly with this too. Thank you for your help during our sessions. You really helped me. I couldn't have done it without your help. Okay, so first of all, congratulations to this client. I know you were so stressed out, and I'm so excited for you and this next big stage in your life. And I wish you so much success at this new school. And I'm just so happy for you. I knew you could do it. You just had to shift your focus, right? So let's talk about some of the things that she talked about in her story. The first thing I want to call out is where she said at some point she stopped doing everything. Let me find that. Waiting, let's see here. Okay, so she says, however, at some point I stopped everything, the manifesting, the affirming, the mental diet, everything, because I could not mentally handle the situation and the mental diet. It was too hard for me, but I would self-soothe saying that everything was going to work out for me. So this is super important. So first I want to clarify where she says she stopped the manifesting. That's not actually true, because we're always manifesting, whether we know it or not, whether we think we're doing it or not, we're always doing it. That's just how quantum physics works. It's how reality works. Your thoughts create your experience. So she didn't actually stop manifesting, but what she did was she stopped making it a job. She stopped constantly constantly thinking about this desire and forcing herself to affirm all day long and constantly oh my gosh, what did I just think there? I got to change that thought. I got to change that thought. She stopped making it a job and making it all consuming. Okay. And what that did for her was helped release it. It's not that she gave up on the desire, but she gave up on the desperation and the neediness, because a lot of times when people are making a job out of affirming, like they have a routine where the second they wake up, they spend 10 minutes affirming, and then they listen to this subliminal, and then they do this meditation, and then they script, and then they have their whole day planned out with techniques. The intention behind the techniques is so important. If you're doing all that stuff because you need to do it to get what you want, you're going to keep yourself stuck in that cycle, because remember, what you assume to be true, you will experience. So if you keep assuming, I got to do this to get this, I got to do this to get this, that's where you're going to keep ending up, and you're just going to be stuck in that cycle of doing work to get something. So that's what she's saying she stopped doing, because it became, really, really frustrating and hard for her. But if you notice that she also said, but I would self-soothe saying that everything was going to work out for me. So she didn't actually stop with the mental diet. She didn't actually stop affirming. She just shifted her story. Instead of making a plan to hyper focus on your mental diet and affirm all these affirmations, schedule all these affirmations and making a job out of it, she chose one general story, which was, when I needed to feel better about it, I would self-soothe in my knowing that everything was just going to work out for me. That's still an affirmation. That's still an assumption. That's a new story. But it felt better to her and lighter to her because, one, it was general. So it worked to self-soothe with any possible thought. No matter what her thought was, she could say to herself, you know what? I know I think that, but it's going to be okay. Everything's going to work out for me. That is a mental diet. That's still doing a mental diet, because she would self-soothe. She would change her story. She would counter a negative thought with this new general affirmation, which is everything is going to work out for me. So I love general affirmations. I use them all the time for myself. If you're ever just feeling overwhelmed with a situation and you really just want something to change in your experience, go general. Somehow, some way, this is going to work out in my favor. Somehow, some way, everything's going to be okay. Somehow, some way, we're going to reconcile. Somehow, some way, the money comes to me. Somehow, some way, I'm getting this job. You know, everything's going to work. Everything works in my favor. Everything's going to be okay. That's still an affirmation. That's still changing your story. That's still going to get you a better end result experience. Because even by saying a general affirmation, you've stopped focusing on the desperation and the neediness and the old unwanted truth, right? So that was really good that she defaulted. She chose that new general affirmation to self-soothe. And I've said this before in other videos. That's what the new story should do. It should make you feel better. It's great to self-soothe in a new story because your brain likes repetition and persistence. So if you start telling yourself a new, better story and it's soothing and it feels better to your mind, your body, you know, you could feel it even in your body, like it feels better. That's fantastic because your brain is going to start introducing more thoughts that feel that way. And then pretty soon you're not going to be fighting with yourself like with your mental diet because you're not going to have so many unwanted thoughts because you've self-soothed so much with the new story that that's become your new pattern of thinking when it comes to this desire. So that was really, really great that she did that. And look what happened very soon after. A new solution presented itself, which was these two universities she didn't know about before that ended up being really close to where she lives, so more convenient. And after this whole bridge of incidents, she stuck to her story. It's all going to work out. I'm going to get in. I'm going to get the one I prefer. And she nailed it. She got into the one she preferred. And she's getting the classes, the exact classes that she needed. And everything worked out beautifully. So it doesn't have to be this big, complicated job to change something in your reality. You just have to know what you want, even if it's something general, like maybe it's just I want to love my life or I want to be happy. Maybe you don't know specifically how you want the situation to be changed, but you just know how you want to feel instead. So go general. Somehow, some way, all this is working in my favor, leading me to my manifestation. Somehow, some way, I always get what I want. Somehow, some way, it's possible. Somehow, go general if you have to. It's sometimes it feels like less pressure and easier to buy into a general affirmation than something super specific. But remember, you didn't always believe everything you see in front of you before it showed up. You didn't always believe every thought you had, but before the experience in front of you showed up. But you still thought it and then you experienced it. So it's okay to start telling yourself a new affirmation that you don't believe right away. The belief will come. Just you have to start somewhere with a new assumption, with a new story, with a new narrative. You have to start somewhere. So I'm super proud of this client. I know that this was something you wanted so badly and you were feeling pretty stuck at this point in your life and trying to figure out what was going to happen with your future. And you did it. You did it. And all it took was letting go of the panic and the worry, accepting what's in front of you. Don't ignore the 3D. You want to notice it, accept it, become okay with it. It's not giving up. It's not settling. It's just acknowledging what's in front of you and not fighting against it. That's how you drop resistance. That's not resistance, okay? From there, what would you prefer instead? Start assuming that's possible and true and happening, regardless of what the circumstances, regardless of if you can figure out how or not. Don't even try to figure out how. Don't even worry about the how. You just focus on the what. Be okay with what's in front of you. Focus on the new what and let it unfold. And you saw with the story, that was a crazy bridge of incidents. She talked to many people. Then she was led to talk to this person. Then they told her they were going to get back to her at a certain time and they didn't. She could have given up, but she didn't give up. She kept persisting in her story. She didn't. Now, not giving up is not going and taking all this action in the 3D to try to force things to change. If you do that from the perspective of it's not changing, I have to take action, you're likely not going to get the results you want, because remember, it all comes down to your assumption and your belief. Change that first and out here will change. I think that's all I wanted to talk about in this video, but just super awesome success story, because she went from not being admitted into school and not having a plan to now she's in a university of her choice and everything is working out perfectly. So you can do it too. So anybody struggling with school, grades, classes, university, or even just like jobs you're trying to get, if you receive a no or a rejection or something that seems like an obstacle, acknowledge it, notice it, be okay with it, accept it, not as permanent, just accept that it is, and then go to your new story and stick there, hang out there, and just let it unfold. Self-soothe in a new story. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. Okay? And if you have any success stories where you felt like the odds were against you and it was really hard or impossible, put that in the comments, because it's so awesome to read and it really inspires everybody else on the channel. All right, I think that's it for this video. I intend you have an amazing week ahead, and I'll see you in the next one.